What's going on, winners? Your boy Loso 2.0. And today I'm going to continue reading Nine Figure Mindset: How to Go from Zero to Over $100 Million in Net Worth by Brandon Dawson, forward by John C. Maxwell. Right, so we're going to pick up back to where we left off at. But before we get started with that, please listen to the voice real carefully. I want you to click that subscribe button below. Subscribe to the Winners Win channel. Share it, everything else over there, all that good stuff. All right, let's open this up real quick. We are going to be picking up from page 75 from here too as well today. All right, get this together. Thinking differently can challenge and even scare most people. So I had to draw clients in by emphasizing that the whole point of reverse consolidation was to make it easier for them to be successful. I agree, right? Change is a scary thing. And I can speak from experience from dealing with older customers at my locations. Older customers hate going for the newer streaming services or going for the newer devices because they're just so comfortable with their old device. So you have to show them that it's really not too much of a change, too much differences, but also too, besides showing them it too as well, you have to walk them through it too. Have to show them how it's not different, right? People like to be shown and they like to be told that. Continuing though, here I could draw on my experience at Primerica as an example. While I was dreaming up Audigy, I became fascinated by the Primerica model and decided to try it. I got my life insurance and security licenses, which are required to sell Primerica's products. Then one day I walked up to my friend and said, "Hey Hector, I just got my life insurance and security license. Can I sign up on your team?" Hector started laughing. "You're going to go out and do kitchen table appointments?" He asked. "Yeah, dude, that's exactly what I'm going to do." I told him, "You told me how you went from zero to a million, and I need to experience it myself, or I won't be able to teach it to other people." Hector was intrigued and impressed that I was humble enough to want to get close to him and learn from him by doing it. After all, I had to come from a position as the CEO of a public company. So I became a Primerica associate and ended up recruiting half a dozen people right off the bat and teaching them. Applying the principles and techniques I learned from recording Hector and from my readings, I began to build a nice little business inside Primerica when I was an associate there. I was able to log into my portal each day. I had every document and every training tool I needed right at my fingertips. I used the portal to transact business, invoice clients, collect payments, and receive my checks from Primerica each month. Primerica made it very easy for me to focus on doing the things that directly contribute to my success, which was getting in front of people. So, at humility, that's the point of this right here. He was humble. I'm talking about a guy who he had experience being a CEO of a company, running an entire company. I'm talking about $1 million company. Decided to be humble enough to not only he decided to be humble enough to start from the scratch and start off to be an associate and learn the business, right? That's what got him to where he got. And that's what sometimes a lot of us lose focus of, right? We may start doing something, start catching a little bit of success, and then forget what got us to where we're at today. So, excuse me. I'm going to create the same kind of optimized high performance engine at Audigy. If successful, I could change the way small businesses are run. My challenge will be to convince mom and pop owners, many of whom viewed themselves as capable business people who had made good lives for themselves and their families, to let me show them how to run their business better and to do the work of training their team, managing their money, and building their infrastructure out beyond anything they could do alone. While management fee was indispensable for my business to operate effectively, I didn't think it would pose a hurdle for owners because it was less expensive to tap into my variable expense structure. You pay for what you need and use the fixed expense structure of hiring and training and offering benefits to dozens of new employees. And if you didn't like doing business with us, it would be just as if you made any bad hire. You're perfectly free to fire us. But if you would like the arrangement and began to see how it allowed you to be more successful, to have a better quality of life, and own a piece of Audigy along with me, what did you have to lose? Again, we talked about this before. The idea of taking the risk off of the customer, off of the client, whatever you want to do, in order to put it back onto yourself and show that you truly believe in your product or service, because you believe in it so much that you can return it whenever, right? Kind of similar to the pitches we do with our streaming. You got 2 weeks to try it out. Listen, if you don't want to do it, you don't got to do it, but it's whatever though, right? Like, I'd rather you try it out for 2 weeks and decide that you don't like it rather than not even get it at all and miss on this opportunity. There's no risk to you. When my non-compete was so expired, I was eager to move forward. My plan was to keep my team in place at Primerica team to draw income there, but when I registered Audigy, the Securities and Exchange Commission rejected my request since I had obtained my license to sell securities through Primerica. Legally, I could only sell securities through them. Both Hector and I could get into a lot of trouble with the SEC if I tried to wiggle around this rule. So when I was ready to start AutoGiddy, the members of my Primerica team and their accounts were handed over to Hector to enjoy the fruits of our labor. Well, almost all of them. There are a few promising folks I brought along with me to AutoGiddy as my first employees. And that's the good thing about being a great leader. When you're a great leader, your employees, your followers, they'll follow you no matter what. They'll follow you through the fire. They'll follow you from one place to the next. And that's what Hector did. And it reminds me again, like when I moved over from one company to another one. When I did, excuse me, without even recruiting them, people hit me up asking me where I went, what job I had, could they come over with me? And even if they didn't hit me up about that, right, they ended up quitting that job because they didn't want to work for somebody else rather than myself. So when you're a great leader, people, it's almost like you're a bundle package after that. People just want to go wherever you go. Dang, my voice sounds so raspy and like congested, but I'm gonna get through this. Now that was the conclusion of chapter 5. So we're gonna start from chapter 6. Why settle for realistic? When I ran Solness, I really had much to do with hiring. I focused on buying businesses, raising capital, and doing the systems development and system building side of the business. My human resource staff handled recruiting. The choice didn't always serve us well because traditional HR methods often don't grasp the idiosyncrasies that can make people rock stars or duds. Excuse me. In building AutoGiddy, I determined to learn how to prospect people since I would be building the business from scratch. So he learned how to prospect people, took the skill sets that he had for one business and applied it to the next. Again, as an entrepreneur myself, I've been kind of doing entrepreneur and entrepreneurship in a way. As I grew up in the business, grew up in rising in my business, in my job, I'm also taking that same skill sets, the same things that I'm learning, and taking them and bringing them over to my actual job too as well. Dang, I hope this thing is recording the whole time too. It always does this. But that's what I'm doing too, right? So that's a good point that he did. He took the skill sets that he was having from one thing, from business, building business from scratch, and brought it over to the next. I began to learn how to do this at Primerica, which rewarded associates both for their own performances and the performances of those like themselves. Armed with new knowledge and confidence from my mentorship with Hector, I learned how to recruit people using my own idiosyncratic methods. For example, rather than run classified ads or work through recruitment agencies, I look for engaging and quick-thinking people in other places like grocery stores, barber shops, and and car dealerships. I try to engage them in conversation about their careers and let them know I was starting a company. I was looking for extraordinary people. So he led off with some type of mission for the customers and the consumers, and then with that mission, he was able to recruit people to different places that he was going to and explain to them why that place was the best one for them. Right. Continue though. One day on the way to pick up my daughter from school, I stopped by the Ferrari dealership with the idea of spending half an hour doing a little prospecting for potential employees, associates, team members for Primerica. As soon as I walked into the showroom, a young man jumped out of the chair and walked over and started talking to me. He told me he was studying business at the University of Portland and working at the dealership part-time. He did a great job engaging me with his bright personality. At some point, I said something like, well, I'm not going to buy anything today. Thanks and good luck, and started to leave. That's when he said, hey, you got to see something. You've probably never seen it. You're never going to buy it. I would never buy it because you're not supposed to be very reliable, but you have to see it. The man's name was Mason Walker. Talked me into the garage, and there stood an absolutely ridiculous, badass Jaguar XK100. Someone had traded in for a Ferrari. The only way I can drive is if I'm with the client, Mason explained. I want to drive this car. Will you take 10 minutes and go for a quick drive with me? I said, sure. And we jumped into the Jag. This guy was so good, I thought. He drove, and then I drove, and I asked him fast forward and tell me what he planned to do when he graduated from college. What is your dream, I asked. I want to sell enough cars that one day the owner puts me in charge of running this Ferrari dealership, he told me. That's so sad, I replied. Taken aback, Mason asked me why I thought making $500,000 a year, being able to attend all Ferrari's events, owning a Ferrari, and doing what he'd always dreamed of was sad. Can I ask you a question? I countered. Sure. Now, I'm going to just end off that. I know that's a very bad spot to end off of because it sounds like it was actually about to start getting good when he was talking about this guy. But I did like the idea of like you can feel the energy of someone who wants to be successful, someone who is perfect for your team. You can already know. You can feel it, right? You don't have to actually go in and ask them a specific set of questions. As you're talking to them, you can feel their energy and you can understand like how good or how bad they're going to be. And he got the energy from this guy. And another sales tactic that this guy used right here was showing him, right? Not just talking about it, not just being about it. He had excitement around it, and he was like, I'm gonna show you instead of just talking about it, right? So I thought that was pretty good too as well with this guy as he was bringing him up. But yeah, that's really all I have for you guys today. I know I ended off, I said, on the sad spot. I might be continuing that part on my actual I'm gonna be actually continuing on that part on my actual podcast instead of on YouTube. What am I calling this episode? What am I calling this episode? Um, Transfer of skills, because he transferred the skills from one job, from one place that he did in life to another area of his life. That's really all I have for you guys today. I want you guys to keep killing the day. Remember, this is The Voice. Winners win, losers lose. You pray for success like this. 2.0 out.